Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Yep, it goes from bad to worse, I'm afraid, and that's quite predictable because there's still a way to go before South Africa returns to pre-1652 times, but it's getting there pretty quickly, I tell you what. And you have to look no further than what's happening on the south coast of KwaZulu-Natal, near Port Edward. It's absolutely shocking. And it comes again from the common denominator I referred to in the last video, and incompetence and corruption. We need to find a term for those two words, don't we? Maybe we just call it IC or something like that, you know. It has been more than a month now that water outages have plagued Port Edward and surrounding areas, affecting as many as 28,000 homes and more than 175,000 people, as well as luxury tourism establishments, holiday homes, and B&B ground-up reports. AMSCOR, the National Procurement Agency for the Department of Defense, was called on this week to help solve a water crisis unfolding on the lower south coast of KwaZulu-Natal. With many residents and businesses unable to get tap water, the Ugu District Municipality requested the Military Hardware Procurement Agency to help fix a broken pump station that supplies water to reservoirs serving Ramsgate through to Port Edward and inland to Isingilweni. We were hoping AMSCOR would be able to procure a new pump faster and cheaper than we could, said Municipal Manager Didi Naidu. But we have since managed to get spares from a supplier and plan to fix a pump station this weekend. The South Coast Chamber of Commerce and Industry has warned about the long-term impact on the area, saying that many tourists would not revisit after having bad experiences. Now, just on that pump situation, you know, these pumps get vandalized, and that's what the huge problem they're having right now is. I mean, it started in Durban, where they started vandalizing the pumps when they weren't being paid enough money. We're talking about the DWS guys in Durban. And that little trick then became common all the way down the south coast of Natal, where they would go and they would vandalize pumps. And, you know, it is a complete missing L factor. You vandalize a pump and you screw up the water supply to your own families. It's not rocket science, but these guys just don't get it somehow. Chairperson of the Port Edward Ratepayers Association, Doug Powell, agreed. Resorts and B&Bs that do not have sufficient water storage can't accommodate guests. The loss of tourism revenue is massive. A local agent, Sharon Norton, said many people around the country had cancelled plans to come to Port Edward during the July holiday period. Others are waiting to see if the problem gets fixed in time, said Smith. Small businesses have been hit particularly hard, with many shutting down when water is not available. Direct losses have also been incurred in the construction industry, with new developments grinding to a halt. Concrete cannot be mixed or poured without water, said Powell. In outlying rural communities, people who only started getting piped water a few years ago have resorted to collecting water from nearby streams and rivers, some of which are polluted and a health risk. Now, this is where I talk about South Africa moving back to pre-1652. The reality is going to be that for those who cannot afford to buy bottled water, they're going to have to go and find a clean river to get their water from. I mean, that is how ridiculous it is. And with Eskom right now on its last legs, when the power goes down, God knows what's going to happen. I just feel so sad and so sorry for everybody in South Africa. They have totally screwed the place up. Totally. I mean, it's just cactus. You've got to love this ANC government. Well, I have a message for the ANC government. Pogma on. What a bunch of losers they are. Anyway, continuing with this article. According to Naidu, It was a small piece of metal that washed down Umtamvuna River during recent floods in late April that caused the main pump at the Umtamvuna pump station to break down. It got into the main pump and the pump obviously seized, said Naidu. Now, that is bullshit. How does a piece of metal float? You know, it would have to be floating to go into the pump. That was put there. That's vandalism. And that was the point I made just now, is that they put a new pump in there, and you just get a random fellow coming along and saying, oh, we know what to do, put another bit of metal in there, and seized again. This is the mentality of the people out there. It is crazy. It is absolutely friggin' crazy. I can't believe it. When operating at full capacity, the Umtamvuna station has 2 main pumps and a spare. It now only has 1 spare pump functioning. We are pumping water at less than half the capacity, said Naidu. Naidu said the resulting crisis followed water supply problems through Ugu district over the past 2 years. Largely due to deteriorating infrastructure, the Ugu district extends from Scottsboro in the north to Port Edward in the south and inland as far as Ekopo. It services about 750,000 people. Asked whether the municipality had the financial resources to repair the Umtamvuna pump station and what the anticipated expenditure would be, Naidu said, our biggest problem is the lack of funding to assess our water and sanitation challenges. It is totally inadequate. This financial year we will end up overspending. Naidu confirmed that a regular expenditure of 243 million rand had already occurred as a result of normal procurement processes having been bypassed in dire situations. He said emergency provisions of the Public Finance Management Act would again be used to repair the Umtamvuna pump station. He said the repairs were scheduled to take place this weekend. Now, I just want to make a comment here. The black mayor of Ugu, he actually resigned last week. And have you noticed how just before the wheels completely fall off, like with the South African Airways, and as so many people have commented, the wheels have already fallen off, you actually lost all the wheels. But have you noticed how just before things really go pear-shaped, and I mean, like, come to a standstill, those who are running those organizations hit the run button and leave, leaving the operation in the lurch. Absolutely disgusting. Peter Brereton, the owner of a luxury B&B, said, the fact that they have had no spares on hand to fix the pumps at Umtamvuna speaks volumes. This is inexcusable. This is an essential service. Can't argue with that. Water from a borehole on Brereton's property was used by firefighters on Wednesday when small fires broke out in the area. Half a dozen homes were at risk, said Powell. Powell recently organised an emergency drilling operation at Port Edward Primary School in search for an underground aquifer. The school has about 400 children and no water. On Monday, drilling operations reached a depth of 240 metres, but no groundwater reserves had been struck. Calling off the operation, a disappointed Powell said an alternative site would have to be found. You know, this is what's happening. People are having to revert to the basics, like going off the grid for electricity, digging boreholes for water. Those services that I, as a ex-South African, expat South African, remember being so reliable, are just ridiculously poorly serviced now. I mean, it is beyond the pale. The borehole drilling venture is supported by local businesses including CO Valves and Piping, a Kokstad-based drilling company, and Port Edward Caltex Garage. Further afield in areas such as Gamalaga, near Margate, and Murchison, near Port Shepstone, people complain that water outages have become as common as load shedding in the cities. Nonjabula Sele of Murchison said water was being rationed with their supply cut from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. She said in some areas a single communal tap served hundreds of people. When water ran out, people resorted to collecting the river water, which was not safe for consumption. Spokesperson for the Ugu District Municipality, Frans Zama, said it supplied about 80% of rural households with water. He said the municipality needed to replace old pipes and pumps that were not up to the task of supplying the entire municipal district, but lacked the funds for this. Just ridiculous. He said the municipality would have to increase tariffs. Okay, there you go. Rates are going up on the south coast, guys. Probably going to double. Just ridiculous. He said the municipality would have to increase tariffs to fund projects. In the meantime, it had little choice but to impose watershedding, said Zama. I just want to make one comment in closing this particular video. And that is that it looks like this catastrophic failure of systems is happening in just about every level of government right now in South Africa. And it's rather like walking on thin ice. You heard of that expression, walking on thin ice? The cracks are starting to appear as the shit hits the fan, and yet everybody's going on with their daily lives as if nothing's happening. And once that water, the ice cracks, and you fall in that deep water, you know, this is why it is so important, and I implore all my subscribers to please prep. You have to prep. You have to buy tins of spare food. You have to buy bottles of water, big bottles of drinking water. You have to be prepared, because when things really go bad, you know, it's going to be absolute chaos out there, because without water, you can't survive. All right, guys, I will put the prepping link directly below this video. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed, and have a great evening. Bye for now.